we just talk? Can we just talk? Talk about where we're going before we get lost. Let me your thoughts. Can't keep what we know without knowing. I've never felt like this before. I apologize if I'm moving too far. Can we just talk? Can we just talk? Figure out where we're going. Yeah. Started off right, I can see it in your eyes, I can tell.
What's up, y'all? It's your girl, Lady T, with Make It Make Sense Monday. Before I get started with today, I have to give some shout outs. I want to first off shout out my girl, Deshaya, for 2 weeks ago coming out here and talking to us about domestic violence. It was a really good show, y'all. If y'all did not see that, please check that out. I just want to tell her thank you again because I know that was hard to tell her story. And I was just so happy that she did it. And I hope that somebody saw it and it helped them or gave them a little bit more of a awareness. And I'm just so happy to see her living her life the way she's doing now after going through all that. So shout out to you again. Thank you again for doing that. And I also have to shout out my In the Mix podcast crew because they held it down while your girl was on vacation. Y'all did a really good job, fellas. I'm so proud of y'all. I'm just proud of everything that we're doing. Everybody's doing a good job. So today, guys, we are going to be talking about depression. And I have somebody that I'm going to bring on here. But before I bring her here, I just want to talk about depression a little bit before I bring her on here. Depression it's a real common thing, and it's scarily common because there's so many people that go through depression and you don't even know it. And you can be around these people and spending time and thinking they okay, and they just hide it really well. So it's kind of scary because we don't never know what somebody might be going through. But depression, it's feelings of low spirits caused by loss of hope and loss of courage, and people be really down when they get into these spaces. They experience anxiety, general discontent, guilt, hopelessness, loss of interest in things, pleasure in activities, mood swings, sadness, and then there'd be behavioral changes. A person may be irritated and agitated all the time, and they social isolate themselves from people. The sleeping patterns might change. They sleeping a little bit more or waking up a little bit more earlier, having insomnia. They this overall sleep pattern is destroyed. Also may experience hunger, fatigue, or even a loss of appetite. The concentration get thrown off. You can't concentrate right. You start being slow in the activities that you normally like excel in. Weight gain or loss. Weight gain because some people so depressed that they eat their problems away, or they be so depressed that they just don't eat at all, so they end up losing weight. So that's unfortunate. A lot of times they overthink, and what they're overthinking about is a lot of times the things that's making them depressed. So when you're depressed and you keep overthinking the thing that's making you depressed, it just puts you in another bad spot. So the causes of these things, it could be biological, it could be psychological, or it could be a social source. So like a lot of times a person become depressed because they lose someone close to them, a loved one, family, friends. Death is very hard. And if it's somebody close to you, a lot of times that sends people into a major depressive state. So we know we got holidays coming up like Thanksgiving and Christmas, and this is a very hard time for people that lost someone close to them. So keep that in mind when you do things and say things, especially when you're around people that going through those type of things. Keep that in mind that they may be suffering from that. Also, it's environmental. So, like as y'all all know, we are in a pandemic. But when this first pandemic first hit, it was like rough because we didn't know what was going on. Everybody was on lockdown. And then the kids had to go to school virtually. So, but a lot of people didn't realize was a lot of kids ended up getting depressed behind this pandemic because just think about when you was a kid and you all of a sudden have to go to school at home and don't get to see your friends and don't get to go to your prom, don't get to none of that. So a lot of kids ended up depressed and people didn't even realize that. So just keep all these things in mind when you're dealing with people. Fortunately, though, there are treatments for depression. So you have antidepressants, you have therapy, and you can get your therapy from a psychologist or psychiatrist. The difference is the psychiatrist can prescribe meds. Then there's also shock treatment, which is kind of more so a last resort type thing to get shock treatment. This is when therapy is not working, the medication not working, so they may try to give you shock treatment to try to set the brain back to take those feelings away from you. So there is treatments, but you also have to get to that point where you admit or acknowledge that there's something wrong. There's something wrong with me. I have a problem. Maybe I need to try to get some help for this before it gets worse. Depression does not discriminate. It does not have, it don't care about your age. It don't care about your gender. It don't care about your race. So it doesn't go like that. People are like, oh, you're too young to be depressed. No, you're not. Depression is not like that. It does not have a specific target. So keep that in mind too. Many people have committed suicide and their family and friends didn't even know that they were depressed. That is very scary to me. That is very scary that you can be around somebody often and don't even realize that they are that far gone that they want to take their life away. What I do notice now, what they're doing at the doctor when you go to your yearly appointments, they ask you a series of questions or maybe even hand you a tablet that has questions. What these questions are directed towards is to find out if you're depressed. So please, when y'all go to the doctors and stuff like that, don't be ashamed to answer those questions because you think you're going to be judged. I don't want nobody to think I'm crazy. Or I don't want to see a therapist because people going to judge me. I don't want to take antidepressants because people going to say something. Don't worry about what other people have to think. This is all about you. This is why these doctors is asking you these questions, because they want to help you. It can potentially save a life because people do kill themselves. So with all that being said, I'm going to bring out my guest, Lady Solis. Come on in here, Lady Solis. Hello.
Hi.
How are you today?
I'm doing pretty good. How you?
I'm doing really good. Okay, so I didn't talk to about depression and everything. I wanted you to kind of give us your thought process or your experience with it. Talk to us a little bit about your outlook on it.
Well, you hit some key points that was like spot on, like spot on. People have like a negative connotation with getting help, especially in coming from our community. I know I
Yeah,
suffered from it for a long time because therapy just didn't sound right, right? We come from I come from a background where you fix your problems at home and they got to be quiet and nobody need to know. And if you go to a therapist, you got to have a mental problem.
right.
So I think I started having bouts of depression in like 2017 is when it really hit me. Um, and I just went for like this, it was like a down spiral. It was kind of quick because at first I thought it was just, oh, I'm working midnights and I'm tired. And, the society doesn't accommodate midnights. I keep hearing, can't get no sleep, somebody ringing the doorbell, mowing the lawn. And then it started getting to the point where it was just like, yeah, this is a little deeper than not getting any sleep.
Yeah,
Um, I was irritated all the time. Also noticed that I was real stagnant. Like I felt like I had no growth nowhere, not at work, not at home, just just this weird space. And then I started distancing myself from people. I didn't want to be around family and friends as much. I would prefer to start texting, not calling, didn't want to really be around. And I woke up one day and I just couldn't stop crying. Couldn't stop crying. And I think when I realized it was a problem is when I was missing work a lot. I would call off. And my job finally told me, like, look, you're gonna get fired if you can't figure out what's wrong. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna get FMLA. I got FMLA and that was my best friend. So every week I would line it up and I knew, okay, I'm not going in and it's gonna give me a 5-day stretch. And
right.
the killer part is nobody in my family, none of my friends, they couldn't tell because I worked midnights and I kind of like hid it from everybody. Nobody really knew. And my mom could catch on to some stuff, but I would try my hardest. And one day she called me and was like, you better get you some help. And I think that was probably like the green light of approval because my mom
Right.
means so much to me. And in our community, nobody else would have told me it. So when she said that, I was like, ugh, you know.
Right. Do you feel like you hid it because you were ashamed of it? Like you were ashamed what people was gonna think? Like, do you feel like that's why you hid it, or was it your own reasonings why you was hiding it?
I was ashamed. I was ashamed because I'm the big sister, right? I'm the person in the family that everybody come to, and I just felt like I, I'm ashamed because for one, I don't got it together, right? What I'm gonna do for all these people that depend on me, and then I also felt like I ain't had nobody to go to, so tell them for what, what they go,
Right.
who gonna help me at this point?
Okay. How long would you, if to kind of guesstimate, how long would you think it took you to kind of realize, like, damn, it's something, I think it's something wrong with me? How long do you think you went through that before you finally was like, it's a problem?
It took me about a year and a half.
Okay.
About a year and a half. I knew about mm, at the year mark, I had started checking out different medications that I was already on for birth control, right? Because it started making me feel weird. And I was like, something not right. But I couldn't figure it out. And then probably I kept talking to my doctor because there's a lot of things that we don't touch on as females that can cause other problems that everybody else think is simple. So, right, getting on birth control was one of the major things everybody, you get on it, you get off, you'll be fine. Well, there
Mm.
are side effects that come with birth control that
Oh
is not
yeah.
just your stereotypical blood clot. And
Hmm.
at the year and a half mark, my doctor was like, well, it's supposed to be the best one you on, but let's look into it. And we pulled it up, and it was women just coming out the woodworks. They like, I'm having depressions, I'm having bad moods. And so I got off immediately. And
Yeah.
that's when she was like, well, if you're gonna stop it, it's gonna send your body into a shock. So you need to possibly go see a therapist at that point.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how would you like? What were some things that you feel like you may have done that like help you cope? Like for example, like for me, I know that like coloring is therapy. It's a stress reliever. Is it anything that you found yourself doing that you felt like it kind of helped you get out of that funk? Like things to just kind of cope with that feeling.
Yeah. Reading the Bible. I know it sounds so cliche.
No,
I
no,
know.
amen.
I listen, I know it sounds so cliche, especially in my generation. People like, when we grew up, it's like everybody holier than thou. I don't want to be around it, but I'm not gonna lie to you. I had this Bible since I was a little girl, and it's just something about when I would just get to the point where I just had nothing else. I just started reading because it two things it did. The first thing that it did for me that I used to go to it for is because it make you sleepy, right? As soon for whatever reason, as soon as you start reading scripture, you get real tired. Like I take a nap off of it. But after doing that for so long, um, and constantly falling asleep, somewhere in my conscience, sometimes I wake up trying to pick up on the story, right? And some of the stories in the Bible are real hip if you read them right. Like
Oh
they
yeah.
real modern. So I would start reading these stories and I'd be like, dang, they was tripping. Like it was really like Moses was in there. He went to God and he'd tell him like they is tripping. Why you leave me responsible for them? So I started getting interested. So I would catch myself doing that a lot more. Yeah. Catch myself doing that a lot more.
I mean, there's no wrong, whatever you have to do, but then that's just for anybody. Whatever you find to do that helps you, it helps you. Different little things. Like some people like to write, and writing give you that escape or whatever like that. So anything that you notice that you do that'll calm you down or help you do those things. Um, what suggestions if somebody came to you and talk to you about depression, what suggestions would you give them? Like far as when I was talking about like the therapy and stuff like that, do you think you would suggest them to do that, or like what would you say to somebody if they asked you what should they do?
Well, therapy is definitely something that I have always, once I start going and seeing like the different avenues of what work and what don't work, is definitely one of the major things I would say because here's where to get you to. You don't have to use it for forever, right? I don't recommend that. You don't have to use it for forever, but you use it as a crutch to get you to the next level. And I say that to say because you don't know where the depression comes from until you seek a therapist. So in order to be able to make an adjustment to your thinking, you got to get yourself to some type of stability. So you have to figure out if that is mentally something that you having a breakdown because something caused it, or you have to figure out if it's coming from, like you said when you first started, um, it could be something that is a chemical imbalance, right? It's different kinds of depression. So you have to figure out which one is for you, because when I first went in, I thought that I was kind of scared, intimidated, because I'm like, oh, they gonna, try to give me this medication. They gonna call me crazy. They might throw in bipolar. You just get scared of all of these
Mhm.
titles. And so the reality is, when I got in there, and you have to be very careful when you pick your therapist too. Don't just go to whoever recommended by your doctor. That's another story. But to make a long story short, um, I basically had to find out, was mine chemical, or was mine something that I can fix myself. And when I got down to the bottom of it, they tried to give me medication, and I was like, no. So I started seeking um natural medication. I'm all about natural medication. So I started picking up these different herbs, and I would try them to see what they would do for me. And I try to mimic the medications. And because I worked in the medical field, it was easy for me to find out, I knew, the language. So I kind of could match this to Tylenol. I could match this to, whatever the case may be. But when I found out that um this was normal for what all the things that I was going through. I had a whole bunch of traumas that I had never dealt with back in the past that came back up in my 30s, that it was like, that happened when I was 10. And then they like, but you never resolved it.
Yeah.
So also for women, we had a lot of women have problems with their thyroids, and we don't
Yeah.
know about it. And I had a major thyroid disease, and that's how I was able to discover that I had a thyroid disease going on plus depression.
Okay.
So I would recommend therapy. I would recommend, definitely, if you have some type of spiritual lifestyle, whatever that might look like for you. I don't know what that look like for people. It could be anything, reading the Bible, whatever the case may be. But if you have a spiritual lifestyle, that definitely is the two major keys for me. And then after that, the trickle down would be then to start letting people in that love you, let them know gradually what you're going through, so their mood can change around you. Not saying they got to be, extra sympathetic and, hovering over you, but they can give you a little break with the certain kind of conversations.
Right. Okay. Well, I'm looking at you, and you looking good, and I know you're doing big things. So I'm gonna just ask this last question because I mean, but this is like I said earlier. I'm like, you be around people and you don't even know. So I had to ask, how are you now? Do you feel like you are still there, or you're feeling better? You in between? Like where are you at now?
Now I feel a lot better, right? And when
Great.
you just said that, a scripture popped in my head, and I just gotta share it. It is a scripture in the Bible that say, Uh, I ain't got a hold of it yet, right? I ain't got a hold of it yet, but I'm definitely moving forward. And so when you said that, that made me think of that, because I don't have a tight grip on it, but I do have a good foundation of it. And I say that to say, depression isn't something that you just magically get over.
Right.
There are triggers in your life that can send you back to that space. But the one thing that I think that get me to a space now where I might look good and I feel good some days, and some days I look good and feel bad, right?
Hmm.
Um, but I think the one thing that I can say that I honestly hold on to every day and that I love to share with people is that we're never taught to sit in our feelings. We always want to react right away. So now my depression is different because it only lasts for a day. It only lasts for 2 days or maybe a week, or whatever that is. Sit in it. So I might be doing good today. I might get depressed tomorrow, but I'm not going to react to the depression. I just sit in it. And I'm like, I know that it's going to end at some point. And honestly, that now that I've been able to do that more, it ends quicker. So it's not no weeks and weeks. It's just, and then it's triggers, and you have to pay attention to those triggers, because I also suffer from anxiety with it.
Right.
And you just have to realize what those triggers are and remember to, it's like somebody that's being on medication and say, oh, I feel good, I don't got to take it no more. Keep the medication. And if the
Yeah.
medication is whatever your therapy is weekly, I go to therapy every month. faithfully. I don't care if I feel good or don't feel good. My therapist is there to hear me when I feel good too. Because when you always talk about something bad, you feel like that's the time you got to keep going there. I go in when I'm good, bad, and I just always now the best change that I made is that I now strive for all what I'm interested in, and I don't let nobody talk me out of it. I don't let nobody talk me out of it. So whatever I'm interested in, if you're not on my team, to just say go for it, even if you don't believe in it. I don't care. I'm doing it. So that's
I
where I'm
know
at now. That
that's
keep
right.
me happy. Yeah, yeah.
I know that's right. Okay, well, yeah, I ain't gonna hold up your whole night, but I do want you to tell us a little bit about the this journal thing that you're doing. Let us know about that. I'm also gonna have her, guys. She has a lot. She did my wedding. She did my decorations for my wedding, and she also did boxes for my bridesmaids that were very beautiful. So she is definitely coming on the podcast, so y'all can learn about everything that she's doing. But I want her to, before we close out today, tell y'all about this journal that she's doing.
Okay. I'm glad you said it because I sure did forget. Ain't that something so funny? I had it sitting here, but I forgot. So I went through a whole journey. You guys can learn about it, but check out my website is www.ladysoulless.com. And I have a book coming out in early next year. But before that book come out, I have a journal. It's an affirmation journal. It's 40 days of affirmations. I'll be doing a 40-day challenge starting with everybody. I said I was going to do it when I get to my first 100, but I'm thinking to make the goal January 1st. Purchase a journal. It's $10. It's on sale. And subscribe to the channel and give you the free PDF that goes with the journal. And I mean, when you subscribe to my page, www.ladysoulless.com, and the journal, we'll do a 40-day affirmation. And in this journal, you'll answer a lot of questions. I'll give you a word. And you looking for all positivity in all words. So just one example would be like day 3 would be talking about you're capable of changing. And it is just actual question about it in the PDF, and then you write it down and hear what you did. And we'll do it for 40 days together. And hopefully that helped you, because it helped. This affirmation, I used it with a group of women that I love so dearly that supported me during my journey of depression. A good 20 of them. It was 20 women. They did a good job, and they supported me in all my business ventures as well. So we'll be doing this together, and hopefully everybody go subscribe and get a journal. And today I want to give a free journal away to one of your somebody that's watching your live. So you pick whoever you want to pick, and then let me know, and I'll mail it to them.
Okay. I can't see it. Maybe
Go back and check it
y'all
whenever you
that's on
want
there,
to.
y'all better comment and say something so we can pick you. I can't see it. Okay. All right. With that being said, you guys, I want to thank you for coming and talking to us. I appreciate you so much. I definitely like that journal thing. That sounds dope. I'm gonna have to get in on that. That I really like that. I like stuff like that. I like
I
that.
got one for you. Don't you worry. I'll send it to you. Just go to the
Yeah,
website and subscribe, but I got one for you.
I like that vibe. I like that.
Thank
Okay.
you.
So in the Mix podcast, we got a lot of things coming up. But you know, my boy Judas Priest he giving y'all that morning inspiration every morning. So check him out at 9:00 if y'all, up and y'all need that boost before you get your day going. Check him out. He's also on tomorrow night for his regular Tuesday with Judas Priest. Then you got Wednesday, my boy Jebby. You got Thursday, you got my boy Fresh. Then Friday, you got all of us. And then this Saturday, we are helping the homeless. We're feeding the homeless. So if anybody want to try to donate or help us out on that, hit one of us up at In the Mix Podcast, and we'll tell you what to do about going about doing that. But we're doing it regardless. Saturday, we are feeding the homeless. So I'm going to let y'all go. Y'all have a good night. We out.